Yeah, man, I got the Mars in the second house today. So this is, Mars, right? That's, energy. That's you moving towards like your goals. Like you don't give a fuck. You're gonna act on your gut, right? Your gut's kind of like a brain. They say you gotta take care of your gut. You know, gut feelings and everything else. You know, and you're gonna move to that. You're not gonna like care what somebody says or whatever. Now, some people do, depending on the sign, right? But people who have that true Mars energy, like Aries, Capricorn, and Scorpio, like those, Mars signs, they're gonna do that. They're gonna go off of gut feeling, like more so than the other ones. But it's in the second house, so that means you value the way you like get shit done. You're kind of your work ethic in a way. Um, and like you know as you're doing the work, you're like getting acknowledgement from other people. you know you might care about that, you might not care about that. You might be more like, I want certain people to see what I'm doing and really fuck with it. That would be somebody who has more like introverted energy, like Scorpio, Mars, that type of deal. You value that type of thing. People who, can keep you motivated, you keep them motivated towards their goals and other things. We have to keep doing things in this life. We can't be complacent. We can't be, you know, why the fuck are you here if you ain't gonna do anything? That type of deal. That's what this energy of Mars has to do with. The second house has to do with, you valuing that type of thing about yourself or other people. It depends, man. So this person, right, who has Aries Mars in the second house, they value definitely the way they do things. They're gonna say what they're gonna do and they're gonna do it. And then they're gonna feel good about it. They don't give a fuck how you feel about it. That's how they feel. And they're gonna let you know after they've done it. Like, damn, I said I was gonna do this, I did it. Damn, man, that's cool. And they have that like, extra energy about it, you know? And it ain't like it can be unhealthy sometimes, but this is in the house of value, so they're doing it towards work, so towards like their type of like towards their security, towards their money, towards like people in like a job. Like, I'm gonna surround myself with people who like me doing what I'm doing, and we're gonna make money, and then we're gonna have fun because we did that. But we're gonna like do it, and I'm gonna like lead the charge. I'm gonna be the one who basically lights the way, you know and like that's the thing. This person might not be an Aries, but they might have Aries energy in the Mars chart boat. So, and they value that about themselves. Like, they're a go-getter and shit. Yeah, man, like, I'll be the one to like lead us to what we need. And they keep everybody else fired up. Kind of when they ain't right, then everybody else ain't right. That kind of deal. You know? And even if they're like on their own and shit, they like still like that, man. You know, people still know that they like that because they say, "Hey, I'm gonna do this." They don't think; they just do it right then and there, no matter what. They value that, like initiative they have, that proactiveness. You know, they like other people don't do that. Other people will wait. Other people will sit, but I won't. That type of deal. And then like people see them for that, and like it brings their spirits up, and then other people start being like, what am I doing? And that's other people looking at them, and then like their friends value them for that. Like, if you weren't in my life, I wouldn't be so active towards what I want to do. I would be less motivated. You help me get up in the morning sometimes, that type of thing. you know Seeing you do what you do. um But yeah, man, these people are cool and they're like not cool, but they're about their business and they do it, and they're about it because they'll like lead the charge. Like they'll help you, not help you, but they'll get your ass like motivated. They don't like seeing inaction and like the people they surround themselves with. You know, they want to help you. They might get loud at you because you ain't doing something. I know you said that you were gonna do this, so why aren't you doing this? They'll kind of hold you to it a bit, you know, like you being loud about this. At least when I'm being loud about it, I'm getting it done. I don't have to think either. I said I'll do it right then. True Mars energy, and they value that about themselves, man. Um, and people know it too, because this is fire. That's cardinal fire. People know about that. Like they can't deny that person. Like they might not be the smartest person, but like they get results. You know what I'm saying? That's this person, and they value themselves for that. So the next person is Mars in Taurus, right? So this guy or female, Mars and Taurus in the second house. So they are going into their money and the funds, right? And it's in the second house, so it's cool. But like they're gonna like not sit back, but they're gonna make moves. They're gonna not do it in a way like they don't care about like they really don't need help from other people. That type of thing. If you know what I mean. Like the other person doesn't necessarily need help from other people too. They just like the, you know, acknowledgement and shit more. And all that, and the like people coming and like bringing that out of other people. This person doesn't really do that type of thing. It's kind of like they're motivated towards their goals, their money, they're getting their shit together, right? They're going to work, they're staying consistent, that type of thing. But it's like they're kind of just they're either basically you like them or you don't. They're not really being loud about their goals either. You know, they know what they have to do. Like they might even be a little standoffish because they don't want you knowing, whereas the other person does. That can hurt them because you know, you know, but it don't. Ultimately, it can if like they're trying to get shit done fast. Is what I'm saying. But the way this person is, they're more patient about achieving their goals and going about their business, right? And they don't need to be loud or aggressive about shit, right? Now they might be standoffish if, like I said, they're trying to do it their way. I hear what you're saying, but I need to do this for me because for me, this is what I need to do. This is what my gut feeling is telling me. I don't need to like be that person. I need to do this, and it might take me a while, but it's still gonna be achieved because I know within myself that I can do that, like in my gut too. Because this is Mars, man. I know I'll be able to, get that done. It might take me a while, and I don't need, people in my business. I don't need you like, there and praising me for this and that. Like it'll show. It'll come and I'll feel within myself. I'll feel it. I'll be like, damn, I did that for myself. I stepped back and like I planned things out for myself. I said, what do I want? I did that. I wasn't like telling anybody anything, but I still achieved my goals. So I was patient and I like stayed consistent on what I said I was gonna do. It's like not a thing that you like state and make like known to people really. With this type of Mars energy, it's like you kind of just it's for you and you know it. Now whether other people know about it or not is like kind of immaterial, to this person. But they'll still achieve their goals. They'll have money. They'll be stable. You know, it might take a while, or whatever for them to do that, right? Acquire things, people that even take note of them because they are more reserved. But they'll get there. They'll grind and do what they gotta do. But now the next person, that's Gemini Mars in the second house. So this person they'll plan things like and they'll plan things by getting other people involved. Now they'll do a lot of talking, that type of planning, spreading their ideas to amongst other people and trying to like convince them that their way makes sense and it's like actually like thought up. We weren't just doing it like to like and like not thinking about it. We were thinking about what we're doing. We didn't want to cause any type of confusion as we were doing things because this is Gemini, so they like to let people know, hey, I'm gonna do this, but it's like da 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 da, that type of thing, like all kind of other shit. I'm just letting you know I'm gonna do this, and they like run down like exactly how it's gonna be. You know, people could also play games and like lie, even though that's the negative thing with this person, because they like talk too much and like that's their gut feeling. I have to think, process something before I do it. Like if I do this, am I gonna cause myself problems? Am I gonna like? Do I see myself getting out of this? Second guessing themselves. They could also play games, get other people involved, which can help their situation out. Like, I need your help too to help get this done. Because the way I was thinking was we could do, like we could go half. Like we both put money in, on in this account, and then I'm doing, I have another account for myself, and you have another account for you, and we do shit like that. And that's just for like that's an example. This is just basic and shit, right? But they plan things out before they do things. They don't just do things on like whatever on impulse like you're supposed to with the Mars energy, right? They think a bit more. So with that comes like people won't see it again. But the people who are involved with the planning, and that's another thing that can slow this person down. If you like, let's say you had a plan, but you had some idiots a part of your plan, people who weren't like didn't understand what their role was. That's gonna like fuck you up as you're trying to go achieve your goals. But you're also smart, so where there's a dumbass or somebody that's not gonna do what they need to do, I can then go and like there's power in that, right? Talking to people and being intelligent and like letting them know things, but you gotta pick the right people, you know, to like help you, get your shit together. So you value people and conversations before you like try to do something. You consider a little bit. Um, you like to impart your like knowledge onto people. You know, too much talking though can lead to nothing getting done and just more questions sometimes. But if you think about things and do the thing that's most logical to you, that's what you got to do. And just to do that, of course, there's all kind of possibilities, and this as a person like this, right? If you do that, you'll be all right. You'll achieve your goals. You'll find the right people that understand the idea of what you're trying to like accomplish, whatever the fuck it is, man. You're trying to build a business, but you're trying to build it this kind of way. You know, you're trying to come up with a plan for a community, your community, and you're doing it yourself, but you want other people who are like minded too. 'Cause you need people to bounce ideas off of. That's just how you get around. Nothing wrong with that, but you could, if you forget that, some of these people aren't smart, and you're just kind of going based off of like, I need another person there to bounce ideas off of, not I need people who are like me, like minded like that, to bounce ideas off of, who will understand their role as we're trying to like accomplish something. Things can fall apart. Again, and if you're by yourself, don't question it too long, because then you'll just, be sitting or whatever, you'll just be left with a bunch of questions, second guessing yourself, and then you will be telling yourself shit like, I won't be able to do this because I ain't enough, or whatever. And then you have to wait for somebody to come around who's like not like that, and then they'll be like, hey man, like just do it or something like that. Um, but you can still make it happen. But overthinking can lead to um, like kind of like passiveness. But the next person, can also be caught up, but for a different reason. See, this is Cancer Mars in the second half. So what you value about yourself is you need that support there, right? You're trying to build something with somebody else. When they're there and you're doing things together, great. I'm with my boyfriend, I'm with my best friend, and we're, going to work. We're becoming, you know, better people. We're growing, and we're accomplishing things too. We got this, we got that. But something happens, right? You Like anything happens, right? You need them there. Like it's not a thing that can't be. They must be there for things to run smoothly for you. This leads to you, as the person who's more caring about other people, stumbling and getting on themselves. Oh, they didn't come with me today. They weren't really, about what we said we were going to do together. Now I have to do this by myself. Can I do this by myself? I really needed them. Like, they really let me down. Am I the one wrong? Was I too, clingy, or was I useless and that's why they left me? You start having those type of like negative feelings about yourself. Oh, they must have left me because I'm like not, you know, a guy who can, do things as well as other people. And since I can't do things as well as other people, you get that like negative fucking mindset too, and that feeling. So when you're like you're like depressed because that person's not there. It's like your best friend, your mom, your I don't know, man. Your life is different. Whoever you care about a lot. Your girlfriend, your boyfriend. You know, you break up. You know, you lose something like that. That support system, shit falls apart for you. You're really fucking down bad, like depressed and all that shit, man. You know, girls too. You know, so for you, you need to find that person who's like gonna have you through the good times and bad times, and understand that you need them there. As much as they might even need you. Because sometimes it's better to do things, with somebody else than to do it by yourself. And you're one of those people who believe in that, doing things with somebody else. And then you might be an individual who um is trying to like do it yourself. Maybe you're a guy, right? And you're trying to do everything yourself, but you still find yourself getting overwhelmed. It is fine to not be ashamed to ask other guys for help or advice or other things, even if you're not comfortable with it. You know, you had a girlfriend or something and she was cool and other things. Now you're depressed because da 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 da. You know, don't forget that other people also, go through that shit, but they still, move and do other things. They don't let that shit eat them the fuck up like that. So people will probably take note of you, and maybe they will see you as a person who is less assertive or less, goal driven or might have you, whatever. Um, but ultimately for you, it ain't that. You are goal driven, but it's dependent upon those close connections you have in like, friends, family members, that type of thing. Which ain't a bad thing. It's a good thing. You care about those people deeply. You might be more of a support role. That's not a bad thing because then those people don't need you too. You know, it just so happens in the situation you might be the one who's more depressed when you guys ain't around each other, if you know what I mean. So you ain't with your friends and you're trying to, um, you were trying to get this thing done. You were trying to like come up together or whatever, right? And now your friend's gone and you're sad and other things, but he's not, or she's not. She's doing okay without you. You gotta kind of like get out of that funk and just, do what a Scorpio does. I'll get to what they do and shit. Um, but the next person is the Leo Mars in the second house. Now, this person values themselves too. They know that they will take action, and that when they take action, right, people are gonna see them. Oh, that's so and so. They don't wait. They when they set out to do something, they're gonna do it, and they're confident about what they can do. You know, people know that about them. Because they're a bit loud about it. Even if they ain't loud people, it's like their actions speak in a loud fucking way. And you're like, damn, you're kind of waiting for that person to fuck up so you can be like, yo, because you kind of been like fucking arrogant about how you're moving and shit. But like the way this person moves and stuff, it's like, even if you do that, you're going to be the one looking like fucked up because and that's people looking at this person, right? You as the person who has this sign, you're doing all right. You're doing probably great, but you'll have haters on you and shit because they ain't like you. They don't take initiative like that. They don't like command that presence like in ways like, oh wow, so and so's doing this. Now I want to be motivated to do what I gotta fucking do. It's not like that with those other people. So like what I'm saying is you might get more people who are like hating you and other things, but you don't let that affect you. You keep doing what you do. And like, so they're gonna like bitch about what I'm doing. I've acted on my gut. I'm doing what I instinctively need to do. That's my Mars energy. Just because you can't do it, and you might even make those remarks because like again, you're goal driven and anything trying to get in the way of that, you're gonna let them know like, well, what the fuck, What are you doing for what you need to do? You know, that type of deal. You know, and you do attract people when you gain like traction towards like what you got going on. Oh, you got a girl, you got yourself, you know, a car, you got yourself a house, you got yourself this. You know, these guys around like, you know, where people are like, damn, how'd you do that, man? You know, what do I have to do? They're coming to you like that, you know, because they see what you're doing, and it's like, you know, is there like you might be the person who's loud and arrogant about that, but like even if you ain't, because like I know somebody who has this like signage, not in this house, because like I wouldn't say, and I ain't saying that person don't value that. They probably do. But the person who values that part about them will be a little bit more like, you know, that's how I do things, and you know, if you don't like it, you know, other people like it, you know, kind of thing. So I'm gonna keep doing what I have to do, you know, and that's on you. And they'll say it too, you know, and that's kind of just how it is, you know, that's off their gut feeling. No love or anything like that. It's just like off a gut feeling. You know, you can either, you know, do what you gotta do, you can, you know, help, or they'll be like, you know, you can come with me, and I can, you know, I can get you right, and I can, you know, coach you along or whatever, or you can be over there and do all that up, you know, whatever the fuck you're doing, you know. But they probably won't be nice about it because like they're more like quick, and they're thinking about what they gotta do and like seeing it and just doing it. They ain't worried about thinking too much. It just comes together. If you like, I don't know. Some people don't get that. It just comes together for them over time. People see them, what they've said. Oh wow, he said he was gonna do that. He did that. Wow. You know, I want to, you know, be around a person who gets results like that. You know, that type of deal. You know, it's like a kingly way of moving around. You know, and then it's just, you know, like that. And they'll even like play it like that too. You know, you gotta do it, man. You gotta not second guess yourself. You gotta not be afraid to like take risks, because this person ain't also afraid to take risks. You know, some like more than others might not. You know, but even if they, you know, ain't taking those risks, they're still taking some type of risk. Believe that. Um, like what I mean by that is they can get aggressive at times. You know, and they'll be the first one to make a fucking move on somebody. That type of deal. Um, and like you know, value move. You know, loud and proud type of movement. You know, you see what I'm doing, you're either gonna like it or hate it. You know, but I'm still gonna do it because I'm not gonna like. It's kind of like the Aries a bit. You know, I'm not gonna just be in this existence and not do a fucking thing. What? No, fuck that. I'm gonna do what I, you know, felt like doing, like in my gut. Um, all right. So the next sign is Virgo. So Virgo and, you know, Mars in the second house. This person isn't gonna be too loud with the way they move, but they're gonna be doing something, and they're gonna think a little bit too, because this is Virgo. Virgo likes to like look into the details of things a bit too much. You know, that could slow these people down, and it's like not necessarily that, but like they're also an earth signage, right, in Mars. So I want to do it myself type of thing. Again, they don't really need you being there too much. You know, they don't mind criticism because they'll critique other people too. But they can also let that criticism, it could play games with their head. Oh, they said I didn't do this right. Well, damn, I don't want to do this shit wrong. You know, and they're kind of like, you know, they're gonna do everything to the best of their ability. Sometimes when certain people come around, they can be fucked with. That's why they also don't like being around people, because like they might ask, is you think I've done the best I could do? Because I think I have. Because this is Mars placement. This is not the sun sign. So like, do you think I've done the best I could do, or do I need? Is there room for me to improve? Somebody might come up to him and be like, "Yeah, there's room to improve. You need to do this, 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 and this." But then they find themselves kind of like, "Well, would I really want to do that? Because I'm not trying to be associated with these people and this and that. You people are kind of fucking with me," and it like kind of closes them off to like want help from anybody else. But then they also are smart too, right? So like they're smart and they think about things before they do things, right? So they'll see other people who are like kind of trying to not be around other people. They ain't trying to be loud and get obnoxious and then like cause problems for themselves, or like cause like you know just be the like main whatever. It ain't about that for this person. We can get results without everybody knowing about it, without being too loud and proud about it. We're gonna go to work, we're gonna do our thing, and we're gonna do it a specific way. Now, and when you're doing things a specific way as this person, when it ain't done that way, and like you planned out to like, we're gonna go to the gym, we're gonna hit this type of um max today. We're gonna hit like we'll just say 120 or 135, 150, 170, 180, all the way up to like what 225. But like today you go into the gym and you don't do that. You're gonna let shit like that, like little thing, get you down sometimes. Cause like you said you were gonna do that, like to yourself. It's not like a thing that you said to somebody else. You're like, I planned to do that shit today. You told yourself that. And you go in there and you do it, but it didn't play out the way you thought. So now you're gonna be like, damn, fuck. Like I was supposed to fucking hit that weight today. So then you're kind of like pissed at yourself, you know, and that could like lead you to like maybe even like just question yourself a bit more. But at the same time, because it's Earth, you're gonna be like, I'll still go back to the gym next week. You'll get yourself out of your funk somehow, you know. But it's not like something that you're gonna like be open about. Like, hey, I'm this guy and I do this. I'm planning on doing this and I want you to be a part of this plan. No, I'm planning this shit out for myself and I need, you know, less people involved, because the more idiots that are involved are gonna fuck my plans up. But you could also be one who's like that though, who does get other people involved. But then when you do that, you get pissed because they weren't doing their job right. And you being like that and like the way you're supposed to move. Let's say you're actually you're the one who makes the plans in the group, right? And then things are supposed to be this way if things are gonna move smoothly, right? One person does one mistake, you're gonna get in their ass, and that's gonna like slow things down, because you're gonna like you're gonna nitpick them. You're gonna be like, damn, what the fuck, da 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 da. I said do it like this, da 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 da, and then said person does other things, and then it kind of like, what I'm saying is it could slow you down, but then you like not trying to do that either. You're just getting the point across, like damn man, I know you're saying that or doing that, but we weren't supposed to do that. This person tries to move for themselves though, because it's an earth signs thing, right? And earth signs are typically introverted, you know more analytical, so that's thinking involved. before movement. But it don't mean you ain't doing anything. I didn't say that. So if you have Mars in Virgo, it's like those little details can sometimes fuck you up, make you stumble a little bit. Because that shit can like get on your nerves. It's like a gut feeling again. I said Mars in Virgo. I know somebody who had that placement too. But you value that about yourself too. Whereas others, won't do that for themselves and what they got going on. When I'm doing this, I'm like planning everything out to a T so that I can satisfy that part in me. So people might look at you and be like, why are you putting all this extra work into something that might not even involve that? You don't care, because that's how you move. But the next person is Libra in Mars in the second house. So this person, right? This person got ideas, okay, I can do this or I can do that. Now they're going to weigh things out by what sounds right to them. What I mean by this, I'm like, let's say they're trying to have fun, right? I'm not going to go to the library to try to have fun. I'm going to go to a movie or I'm going to go to a concert, and then I'm going to like plan my way about how to, do that. Thinking about it a little bit. Not, I'm going to go do it and I don't care about what's going on with anybody else. Because this person is also going to consider other people's other people's feelings or know how other people, like how that could like affect them, if you know what I mean. If it's like a negative thing or a positive thing. So if, if I do this out here, other people are going to view me like this. So I'll probably not do that. I'm kind of considering other people a little bit before I move. And even if you want to do something too, like let's say you're a person that like likes to have fun or something, right? But you're in a place where, you don't want to be the center of attention, man. Like this person doesn't want that. They want to do things in a peaceful manner. They want things to go kind of as smooth as can be, and it's like for other people too, because I can get out of sorts in other things. This person knows that about themselves, but they're like, I don't want to do that because of other, you know what I'm saying? They're considering other people beforehand. They ain't gonna just say fuck it and do it. These people, think before they do. Now every once in a while they might, but for the most part, they're not going to do that. They're going to be the one that's more like, calm in the situation and like more peaceful. Like people might note about this person, oh, well, you really thought about something before doing it. Whereas those other people just did and they ended up whatever. You actually, took time to sit back and, whatever. You were kind of, and yeah, minding your own business because you were thinking before you were moving, and you were going to move in a way that was more respectable. I don't want to say respectable, but less like gonna cause problems for people and yourself. So like, let's say, okay, let's just use this as an example. I'm in a place, right? And then a person comes up to me and says, sir, you can't be here. And let's say I really wanted to be here. I wanted to eat at some restaurant, but they were being fucked up for some reason. You're not going to throw a fit. You're just going to be like, you know what? Okay. You don't want me here? I'll leave. That type of thing. Whereas somebody who's like of like more yellow energy, like the person I'm about to talk about next, will be like, well, what the fuck? And might get out of sorts. If that was like what they were really like, because they put a lot of like thought, or not thought, but like that's what they really wanted to do. And you're going to tell them no, me, or somebody like that, who has Libra and Mars in the second house, they value that about themselves. I don't need to go around and antagonize other people or anything like that. If somebody don't want me around, fine, that's cool. I'll do something else, because like that's the way this person thinks. But when it comes to like their plans and stuff, right? It could also be like, okay, you think too much. Overthinking again can lead to like you not going after your goals directly. So you're weighing out options so much, right? That then it seems as though you lose sight of what your main goals are. And then people are like, oh, you can't accomplish anything, because like Mars and Libra is not a great placement to have. But like, I know that it's not the worst placement to have, because like I said, again, you do weigh out your options and other things. And like I said, that's a negative thing in like Mars energy. But like when you look at it as a whole, you're not like losing out on anything too much. You're, not like those true Marsian types of people. Like I'll talk about the next type of person, but just know that this person values the way they move. I move in peace, that type of thing. I move with grace. I'm not trying to cause problems. I'm not out here trying to, you know, do that. You know, we don't need to get aggressive and other things. We can, do other things first. Now, this person will get, aggressive if they have to, certain situation. Now, the next person, this is the Scorpio Mars, right? In the second house, they value their desire. They value their drive. So, let's say this person has the goal of, finding certain types of people to have fun with. Go and do something. They ain't gonna like wait. I would never say that Scorpio is a sign to wait. I'll say, they're the types to act. Now they ain't gonna do what the Aries does, but like they have a like certain aura about them, and like they doing shit, right? Like they don't gotta be loud and be like, "Hey man, I'm going out to do this and that. Hey man, watch. Oh, I just did that, man. What's up?" Hey man, and other people like crowd around them. These people are like not like that. They're like over somewhere else. They ain't doing all that extra stuff. They saying, but they are doing extra stuff. They don't need the spotlight like that. But it's like known that they do stuff. Like you can like see what they've done. Okay, you took like an aggressive move. Like I wasn't expecting that from you. Or maybe I was. You were a person who, will just do and not warn anybody. That's kind of scary and shit too. Like when you're upset by something, you might just swing on somebody, depending on the situation, right? But like, let's talk about, your goals, right? You're gonna achieve your goals no matter what. Like this person believes in that shit for real. So if push comes to shove and you have to like be ugly, you don't give a fuck about that. You might get loud, you might throw some shit around, you might, do something that other people say is wrong in the eyes of like, society and people. But ultimately, it doesn't matter because your goals matter more than all that other shit. And you're not gonna go against your gut feeling, because going against your gut feeling is gonna lead you to be like, damn, I knew that person was like that. I knew that person didn't have enough guts to be around me and be my friend. But I still told myself maybe I'm the one being um, delusional or whatever. But that's the thing about you. Out of the other water signs and shit, you are actually one who has a good gut feeling, actually, when it comes to you and yourself, right? But like the problems fucking come when you get involved with, or put your energy into somebody else and then they don't deliver, because then that's going to piss you off, because you put your time and energy into somebody, and like for you, that's not something that you fuck with. Like you don't fuck with people's emotions like that. You can't do like you that's a way to piss somebody off. And you know you value your drive, your energy, that type of deal. um and like to fuck whoever is like not about that. You ain't even looking for that. Like you're not. It ain't that you ain't looking for like a challenge or anything either. That's not what I'm saying. It ain't like you're not looking to push yourself or do things, right? It's like the actions speak for themselves, and I don't care what you feel about what I've done. I'm gonna do it anyways. This is my gut instinct telling me this. You would be a fool to fucking not go after what you desire and other things, just because I do that, right? And I've done things. I've seen females, I've seen guys, I've ran into this crowd. I've delved into these type of things to like achieve my business or achieve my dreams. You don't need to know any of that. you know you or maybe you don't understand what I or comprehend what I went through to get that. you know you let your emotions drive you forward. you know it can be toxic though at times, but ultimately you stayed driven. You kept going while others didn't. So whatever, those people will, bitch or moan or whatever. um you'll keep seeking what you want. And like I said, you won't be loud about it typically. Sometimes people will be loud about it, because this is a Mars placement, right? So you might have a Sagittarius Sun or a like you might be of a different signage and have this placement, but it's like still understood that damn, this person's a go-getter, and like they're willing to do like anything to achieve their goal. Like they don't care about the repercussions at all. This person, that's how like real fucking driven. That's how gutsy they are. It's like not about the stomach, the guts that like Aries has, right? It's like what's inside of the guts. That's why I like to fucking explain the Scorpio versus the Aries, um, like the true essence and shit. But the next person is Sagittarius, Mars in the second house. So this person does value their freedom. They value their time and their energy. I don't want to, and they're going to tell you too, I don't want to be around people who ain't with what I got going on. They'll get confrontational too. They'll get, like, they'll get in a fight in a hurry too, because, like, why? You know, why are you going to hold me back from what I want to do? Maybe I didn't think things through, but I want to do it now. I can't do that shit. Like, you could be like this to somebody like that, right? Like, that place ain't going nowhere right now, man. Like, just do that in a few years. They'll be like, what the fuck did you say? I need to do that shit right now. Talk about impatient. This person's impatient. Because, like, in the future, because they know how they are, another thing. In the future, they ain't going to want to be doing that. They're going to want to be doing something else. Because this is mutable fire. They like to seek new experiences. So they can be fast about some shit, man. Like, they ain't moving with the wind. They're like moving like lightning. Like, how lightning's kind of like scatters all over the fucking place? That's what they do. But it's like, damn, you're willing to go through with what you want to do, even if other people didn't like it, and that's how they attract people too, but like, it ain't about that with this, right? It's like, you fuck with me or don't fuck with me. I need to do this because it's a gut feeling they have in themselves. Like Sagittarius, Mars, right? This person who has Sagittarius Mars, they're like, I have to fucking do this and stuff, because if I don't, I'm gonna, get pissed. I'm gonna hurt somebody. And like, they're telling you now before they fucking do it, But like, they won't tell you sometimes, because this is like fire. It's active. It's on site. Yeah, they are not patient by any means. They won't think either. I want to do this. I'm just gonna do it. And if I look a fool, I don't care. No fucks given to shit like that. Not with that person at all. Looking a fool. Oh well. And if you piss me off, I'll fight you too. That has that energy attached to it too. So they'll achieve their goals, though, because like, they're not gonna wait for anything. They're gonna attack what they need to attack. They're gonna go after it when they see it, is what I like to say. They're not gonna wait and be like, oh no, I'll do that later. They ain't one of those types of people. When it's something like exciting or fun, we gotta do that now. You can come with me or not, but fuck, I'm doing that. That type of thing. They'll be loud and proud, just like the other ones too. Um, but like, they like to see like more experiences. So after like they do one thing, they're on to the next thing, and they do that too. Like, it's like, I've done this, now I need to do this. Boom, and it's like they get a like, I don't know, it's like a rhythm going, like, it's that Sagittarius lightning, I guess, in their stomach. But the next person is Capricorn Mars in the second house. Now, this is cool. Not cool, actually. I lied again. This is, what's up, because Capricorn is exalted in Mars. So that means you're going to do whatever you need to get shit done. If you have to get loud, you will. But, it's strictly about the goal. And I'll say strict. What I mean here is discipline and all that extra stuff, right? So when they told themselves, because they told themselves, right, because this is Earth, right? I can do this. I want to, achieve this type of business plan for myself. I'm going to take the necessary steps, and I'm going to like take action, and I'm going to do it. I'm not going to like sit down one day and not do it. I'm going to like do the fucking thing and like not, dilly dally around. Like, if I said I was going to start a business, I'm going to take all the necessary plans to start the business. And like, that's what they're doing for said years, said days, and all that other shit. They are not focused on anything else. And like, it's also based upon like real shit too. Like, they see the real world and stuff, and they're like, damn, they have that. And now they ain't hating now. They ain't doing that. They're saying, if another person can do this, I can do this too. I just have to like put my feet to the ground and fucking do it. And that's what they're doing. Now they ain't gonna be loud, and they're not trying to and they ain't trying to cause problems, as they're gonna think and talk and communicate too. They need to. They'll even be the ones, giving orders to other people, letting them know, hey, if you want to get on your shit, you have to like cut that bullshit out and cut all that fuckery out and do shit like this. And like they'll do that. They'll run up on you with shit like that and then get back to what they're doing, you know. And they like trying to like run and manage shit too. They have that type of energy with the Mars. And it's not the like words and shit, it's the like what they do, man. And like they accomplish what they're gonna accomplish. Like they have the cars, the house, the money's right. They invested in the right spots because they've seen where money was going and all kind of shit. It's like based off of like real fucking time. What I mean by that is it's the things. I need those things for me to feel like I've accomplished something. I need those things so I feel like I've accomplished something. And it ain't always necessarily like a materialistic thing. Like, cause like a tourist is like, I like that type of thing. I need that type of thing. No, I need this because other people have this. I need to make sure like I have my shit together. I won't feel accomplished in myself. And I'm going to actually get on myself before anything else if shit's not going right. And that drives them forward, and they, get shit done. They about their business. They'll slap people around too because it's their signage, but in that area, if they have to, they much prefer to just get the task done. But they understand they might be met with that because they're also a person who's like aggressive, assertive, and like not in a way that is other people won't find that shit, any kind of, funny or tasteful, maybe is what I should say. But, we need to do this, or I need to do this, and you should do this because da 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 da. And they'll run it by them, and then they'll do what they have to do. So, more planner, but not planner. Action plan, action plan. It's action plan. I wrote this down. I'm gonna do it. Now, if I have to talk to these people, assign these people, like people to these things, to get this done, cut these fucking people out, stick to that game plan. And it might be simple, it might not be simple, depending on the person, but, they're just, doing that. Anything outside of that, that will piss them off. So, like, you're coming up on them when they're trying to, like, do work. That's when, like, shit like a fight could occur. You're not taking the advice that they, giving you. So, now they're gonna take that shit personally. Yeah, they might slap you on the fucking head. Especially if you're a part of what they're, having going on. Now, this next one, right, is Mars in Aquarius in the second house. This person values the way they think a little bit before they do things. Because this is Mars, right? So before I step, I'm going to think about what I can do, but not about what I can do, how I can talk and convince people that what I'm doing is worth, getting them to follow, getting their attention for. I am one person, but they're thinking, right? I'm one person, but there's other people out here. I'm smart about things before I do things. I want to talk to people and kind of like play games with them, you know, feel them out a bit. Um, like more so picking their mind apart a little bit. And like, is this a person I can actually like achieve shit with, or is this a person that will fuck around and like play games with me, or well, really try to play games with me, or maybe play games with it depends on because of the sunshine and shit, right? Because you might not be in Aquarius with this picture and shit, but you're also a good friend and shit. Like you might drop what you're doing for yourself, and that's true. And this is only for the people that you really fuck with and stuff, and you'll help them with their goals. What does this mean? You're smart in other things, so you want to help this person get to where they need to be. So you're gonna be the planner for them, and you're gonna be like, hey, I understand you want to do this, but hey, do this. Like, do it this way. I'm not saying to stop doing anything, but do this. And then they'll listen to you, and then they'll like, do whatever, and then people will like them, and then like their joy becomes your joy, and then you start doing better too because your friend's doing good, and you like shit like that. You know, you kind of like think about other people too a little bit. Kind of giving them a little bit of information so they have it for themselves. I've been thinking about this. I wanted you to know that. And like you giving like people advice or whatever, or bits of information that you found interesting or you were thinking about, because you are not a person who is really like, I wouldn't say very driven or seen that way, right? At times we can say that, you know, but you're a person that thinks before they do, and ultimately can impart or have that time to impart some knowledge off to somebody else. And in that's power too, because for you, knowledge is power, and that's what you value. And you impart that onto other people, and in doing that, that helps you out. You know, that's my guy who knows, this and that. I want to help him out now. You know, that's my friend that he'll come, like you'll come go with your friend and like have their back on some shit. You're like that. And it ain't that you don't have your own goals. You actually like to like fly around. What does this mean? You like to like see different things. You know, you're thinking like, okay, I can do this right now, but I could also do this right now. You know what? We'll do all of it. We'll I'll do this right now. I'll go to the movies right now. But then I want to go to the library and read these books. And then I want to like go do this with these people, it's like, damn, choose one. Okay, we'll do this and do that and do that. We'll do all of it, but we'll do it in this order. And then maybe you don't do it in that order and it still ends up working. Because again, you're a smart person and things have a way of coming together, because what do you know? The possibilities are endless, because you keep an open mind and you think before you like move. Now, this is also a bad thing. Again, I ain't gonna like gas that shit up too much. Now, don't think I'm dumb. You know, you thinking all that time can then lead to inaction, because then you might convince yourself that you ain't um enough, or you can't accomplish that for whatever reason you come up with, whatever mind, yeah, your mind played tricks on you for whatever reason. You were, second guessing yourself too much. But if you don't second guess yourself and you make a plan and then you just, do it, talk to the right people and because that's how you like to get around, you'll be all right. Second house, Pisces Mars. This is the last person. Now, this person values connection to friends and people. They have compassion towards others. And when people don't have that compassion towards them, it's like, damn, like, what the fuck? My friend, my brother, this, my, that. I pour my whatever into you. And now you are telling me that we have to part ways? What the fuck? And that throws you for a fucking loop. And you're kind of like in a fucking way, and you are in a fucking way, but like you ain't, like you might fucking get aggressive on somebody. That Cancer Mars is less likely to, now Scorpio is definitely going to probably, but you know, you're also wise to a degree. You're like, I know, like you kind of like, I know why they did it, but damn, that type of thing. It still fucking hurts. And you're like crying and other things, but then some things could come up and then you just like go the fuck off. And you just like, you put that on a person that you weren't trying to put that on. You might lash out on, I don't know, just somebody. And all because of it stemming from you losing that support system that you had built with somebody else. You had poured time and energy into like whatever kind of relationship it was, and like you were like working toward, like the thing is you were working towards something. That's the like root cause of the anger and everything else, right? Or like sadness that turned to anger, you know and then you lash out at somebody else. Now you then have another fucking problem. This person that you lashed out on that you weren't trying to fucking lash out on. And that might happen, but it might not happen. You might just stay to yourself and like damage yourself. That's probably more likely to happen with you. But certain times, this might be an Aries that has this placement. So like they're all fucked up now and like they're upset. But now, you might just take it on yourself. I wasn't the one doing this in the relationship. I was a piece of shit. I was this, I was that, I was that. Now you turn into like drugs and shit like that, and you're like, trying to like basically kind of play victim or something, you know. And that's a bad thing. So at least you not like getting your goals or whatever. But now if you have that strong support and you stick together with said person because you weren't like foolish about who you chose to fuck around with and like link up with, you're all right. You know, even if like they, have made you feel a certain way, they're gonna come back because you have that type of relationship with them. You kind of, I don't know, you can't pick people based upon the way they make you feel in the moment or whatever, because over time shit changes and shit, you'll see another side of them and you'll be, whoa, I thought da, 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 da. And you will feel like that too. You will, because you're of water signage in Mars. You'll be like, whoa, what the fuck? I thought this and that. Now you'll try to, you'll adapt or you won't, depending on what your like actual sun sign is, right? But you'll try to, make shit work. Like, hey, I didn't know you knew, flow off the rails like that, or you were like this or like that. But hey, I'll still try to make this shit work. You try to put everything into the relationship and it might fail. Try not to get down on yourself and still do that, like still accomplish your goals and dreams, even if other people ain't there for it. Even if you're alone, it's like sucks. It's bad. But remember that there's probably somebody else out there doing the same thing. And if you have that type of wisdom, and you're like, damn, you know what? Things will work, pan out, you know. And I am upset about the past. You're gonna let that then drive you like kind of like the Scorpios do, but a little different, you know, because you're a little more creative than they are. But that is Mars in the second house is told by Darius the Green Angel. Be cool, Claw in the corner, and I'll be back next week with Jupiter in the second house.